What's up, everybody? Been a long break from the Q&A, but we're getting back at it today. So let's get to the first question. What is your dream career? None. I don't want a fucking career. Like, literally my worst nightmare is to be stuck in an office doing a career. My dream career, I guess, would be to live entirely off of passive income so that I don't have to work unless I want to. And that is, in fact, exactly what I have set my entire life up to be like since the age of 18. But I guess if I absolutely had to pick a career, to play ball here and actually answer your question, I've always thought I would enjoy, like, hunting serial killers. That's one. Or, in a completely different area of life, a zoologist or like somebody that works very closely with unique animals, I guess. Should you be aggressive on the post-show rebound, assuming health is in check? So I can only speak on this theoretically because I've never done a show and therefore never done a post-show rebound. That's actually a huge if, what you just said, and that's the main issue that I have with it is, assuming your health is in check, sure, but if you just finished a show, you've likely been on drugs for anywhere from 4 to 6 months straight. So how long is your rebound going to be? Like 4 weeks? Because it's going to be hard to justify staying on drugs even longer, and it's almost unlikely that your health is in check in the first place. Second, you can eventually get big enough where that's just not possible without causing health problems. Okay, just so for example, I'll use a really extreme one. Like, let's say you're Nick Walker and you're 250 pounds in stage shape, or 260 or whatever that dude is. If you aggressively rebound, you're going to be like 290 within 4 weeks. I don't know how you can add that much water weight that quickly without getting blood pressure issues and other things happening. And that's going to happen on a smaller scale to us smaller individuals as well. So again, assuming your health is in check, sure, go for it. Like, why not? But assuming your health is in check is a big if. What do you think are stupid displays of wealth in society today? Honestly, like, I just don't get off on judging other people. So it's like, I just don't, like, I guess anything that would dampen your financial future. So if you're spending in such a way where it's going to drop your quality of life at some point down the line because you're not making enough to sustain it, then yeah, I mean, if you're, hurting your financial future because you don't make enough money to sustain what you're doing, dumb, I guess. However, if you're making enough money to sustain it, you know what? Have elephants and giraffes at your daughter's birthday party. I don't give a shit. Why not? When you spend money, someone else makes money. Someone had to make the money, so spending money is good. How often do you practice gratitude? I often find myself down, even though my life is relatively chill. I could be totally wrong about this, man, but the sense that I get from the questions that you ask is that you don't know what you want to do with your life, and you don't have a sense of purpose. It sounds like you have plenty of finances, but you have no idea what you want to do, and that's always going to leave you feeling down. I don't personally have like a gratitude practice. I think that's a great idea to write like 10 things that you're grateful for every day, first thing in the morning, right before you go to bed. That's like something that's recommended in a lot of self-development and self-help books. And I've done that in the past and I found that useful. Today, I don't really need to do that because my entire life is centered around things that make me feel grateful. Spending like time with people that I love, my dogs, being able to train, especially now being able to train, considering working through injuries and stuff. But if that's not a place that you're used to going often, it could definitely be useful to have a formal practice of some kind. Would it be possible to maintain muscle if you were to train once every other week? I mean, that's just so super theoretical. But yeah, I think so. Probably could get pretty close if you trained really hard. So let's think about it like this. A lot of people make actual progress on bro splits that train a muscle once a week. And not all of those are like gigantic IFBB pros who are super strong. A lot of people use once a week training splits and do really well. Now, once you get to 2 weeks though, I think in the 10 to 14 day range, that's probably where most people are going to return all the way back to baseline after exposing a muscle to a training stimulus. That said, I've personally gone like 3 weeks without training before and come back and set a PR. So there is individual variation on this. Everyone's going to be different. I think that if you trained really hard once every 2 weeks for each muscle group, it could probably work for maintenance. What is more likely to cause a very weak overhead press to bench ratio? Bad overhead press technique or weak triceps? The number one thing that's going to cause a weak overhead press to weak bench or to bench ratio, so like your overhead press is weak compared to your bench, is one, the fact that you probably just train your bench with more frequency, volume, and especially enthusiasm. I know tons of people that only ever train their overhead press after they've already trained bench. So if you're not doing a program that treats them with equal importance, meaning like you have a shoulder day once a week and a chest day once a week, or if you're more of a strength focused person, you have one push day that's shoulder focused and your other push day is bench focused, it's unlikely that they're going to be in a good ratio to begin with because you're training one of them with more importance. That said, these would not be my only two choices. Anthropometry, like your segment length, is also going to play a role, and weak shoulders could be the cause. Thoughts on Martin McDonald's rapid fat loss program? So rest in peace, Lyle, first of all. But Lyle McDonald's rapid fat loss program is something that I have run many times, and I would not recommend it to anyone with strength or performance goals. And the reason for that is because Lyle basically said the whole point of this diet was people are going to crash diet anyway. I'm going to give you a method of crash dieting that causes the least amount of harm, but there's still harm, especially like if you care about muscle mass and strength. Now, if you do everything he says, you can get away with it and not lose a ton of muscle. You'll still lose quite a bit of performance, usually, not always. That said, again, I just don't recommend it unless you're getting ready for like a photo shoot or a wedding, or you have a contest coming up and you need to be a certain weight by a certain date, and you're not going to make it with traditional dieting strategies. If you're so far behind a deadline that you're not going to make it with traditional dieting strategies, that's when you would use a rapid fat loss diet or a protein sparing modified fast. Under no other circumstances do I recommend it. What are the things that you should consider when trying to decide the total amount of exercises on a push-pull leg split? So first of all, you need to cover all the functions of a muscle, basically. That's consideration number one. So very charitably, right, let's use the chest. We have some kind of incline pressing or incline fly, because we want to train, the upper clavicular fibers. And then we're going to want some sort of a flat press or maybe a slight decline to train the sternal middle fibers and those lower pec fibers. Now, you might even have one exercise each for each of those things, although I don't think it's usually necessary to have a lower pec exercise. Second is you're probably going to want some sort of machine fly to train the pec in its fully shortened position, which is just not possible with any free weight exercise. That's 3 exercises. Now, if you only have one rotation, you need to do all 3 in that workout. But if you have multiple rotations, then you only have to cover all of those functions across your entire microcycle. So if you have 3 different rotations, you could potentially only do 1 chest exercise per rotation and just put all of your volume into that one exercise. The second thing that you need to consider is your stimulus to fatigue ratio. For most exercises, SFR is going to be optimized with at least 2 or 3 sets per exercise. And for most exercises, doing more than 5 or 6 sets on the same exercise is going to start rapidly dropping SFR because it's simply going to get stale within that session. So the 3 main factors, and not the only factors, but the 3 main factors are you training the muscle in all of the ways that you want to train it, the different functions with different resistance profiles? Okay, number 2, how many sets do you need overall for that muscle group per session? And then 3, how many sets are you doing per exercise? And when you look at all those factors at the same time, you should be able to arrive at a number of sets per exercises and a number of exercises that is optimal per session. Do you think it is possible to qualify for the Mr. Olympia naturally, like Ronnie Coleman did? Kai Green also did that, by the way. So it's 100% possible, but it's only possible for like unicorns, man, like genetic unicorns like Ronnie Coleman and Kai Green. It's not just possible for anyone that works hard enough. Like, there's a lot of people that can do everything right in terms of the training, the nutrition, the recovery practices, the pharmacology, and potentially still not turn pro because their genetics just aren't quite good enough. So genetics can be a huge limiting factor, and they can also be like a trump card. A lot of people are going to be somewhere in the bell curve, like within that first standard deviation, which covers like 68% of the population. And unless you are an actual outlier, you're not qualifying for the Olympia naturally. Not happening. Oh, and by the way, man, we can get a picture anytime. Today we were like in the bathroom, so that might have been weird, but I think you're usually there a little bit earlier than me, but literally next time I see you in there, let's do it. Why do you train so differently from most bodybuilders? Well, number one, I don't, right? There's a huge contingent in the bodybuilding community that's low volume, high intensity, quote unquote. Like any of my English friends that I talk to or look up to, like 99% of them train very high intensity, low volume. Anybody that looks up to Jordan Peters, anybody that read Dante Trudell's stuff in the 90s and Mike Menser in the 80s before that, There's a huge contingent of the bodybuilding community that does quote unquote low volume, high intensity. That's the way I like to train. And that's the reason why I train that way. And I'm hardly the only one. Now, why do I do a full body split instead of push pull legs? Because I can recover from it. It's like the same reason that beginners do high frequency linear progression instead of advanced programs. All right, that is the end of the video. So as always, at the end of the video, you know what to do. If you liked the video, like the video. Any questions or comments, leave them below. Subscribe if you haven't already. Enjoy a dog picture, of course, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye-bye.